Hi, this is Brandon Moon. I want to welcome you to Fly Tying Night tonight. Tonight we're just going to do an unweighted soft hackle. This is kind of more in line with the traditional soft hackles back in the day. I've seen it called a purple western soft hackle, purple and snipe, a few different names. I'm just going to call it the Purple Starling Soft Hackle because we're going to be tying it with starling. But I have seen it called the Purple Western Soft Hackle as well. So the reason I like soft hackles is they are actually extremely effective patterns, especially trailed behind a dry fly. I trail them anywhere from 12 to 24 inches behind my dry. I kind of correlate them with the pattern that I'm fishing. So if I'm fishing a Purple Haze, this one's a phenomenal pattern to fish behind it. I tie them in olive. I tie them in different colors to trail behind other patterns as well. So extremely effective pattern. I fish them on a traditional swing that you do when you're fishing a soft hackle. I also fish them just on a regular dead drift like I do a dry fly fishing upstream, and have caught tremendous amount of fish that way too. So we'll get started today, and today we're going to be using the ML052. I'm going to tie it in a size 14. This is my go-to size. I tie this down to a size 18 and even done it in a size 20. It's a little harder in those sizes, just small sizes, because of making sure you don't crowd the eye of the hook. But it is possible, and they do fish and catch a lot of fish too. So we'll take that out. This pattern I do is just a little bit different. You can see I have that hot spot head on there. So put our hook in the vise here. For our thread, I'm just going to be using Semperfly's Classic Wax 12/0 in purple. Okay, I'm going to start this thread at roughly the 3/4 mark, and that's going to be where my body is going to go. So I'll give this a few wraps, and then I'm going to trim out that tag end there. Okay. I'm going to wrap this rearward. I don't want to go all the way back to the bend of my hook. Traditionally speaking, on a traditional soft hackle, they have a shorter body. I go a little bit further. So on my barbless, I'm going to go just before that barb would be. So you can see I still got some length in that shank. And I'm just going to wrap this forward, back up to the point I started. Traditionally, you don't do this with them. I like a little bit of a tapered body, so now I'm going to wrap rearward again just to build up a little bit of a taper. And I'm going to build that up going back and forth with this thread, stopping short of where I went on the previous wrap. And I'll do that a couple times. I leave the front part of this taper the same and let that taper be more in the back side of this fly. This taper is very subtle. It's not super big, not super fine. Okay, now I go back to that back point. Okay, so you can see I've got just a slight taper to this. I'm going to take, and I use my wife's Stampin' Up! Markers. Okay, any kind of alcohol marker would do, something that's not going to bleed. So I'm using a gray, and I'm going to take that marker, and I'm just going to mark this thread, and I make sure and get that colored up pretty good. I want to make sure I got enough on there that it's going to leave a little bit of a ribbing as I do this. I personally won't see this very much. You'll see it on this video because of the macro lens, but it's really hard for me to see it with my naked eye, but the fish are going to notice it too, and that's just going to give me a little bit of a ribbing there. Okay, I'm just going to take and whip finish this. Because I want to make sure I don't crowd the eye of my hook. I'm going to take my fluorescent yellow thread in 12/0 as well. I'm just going to start that right behind where that point is. Okay, I'm just going to get it started. I'm going to cover that up with my Peacock Herl for my Thorax. Okay, here's my Peacock. I'm just going to take one piece off of here. The bottom part of this Herl is really not very good to use, so I'm going to trim it down. Now I'm just going to tie this in right here. I'll tighten that down nice and good. Now I'm just going to wrap it a couple times. You can see I still got lots of room. Nope. You see I pulled that Herl forward and began to create where I was going to almost crowd. There, I did it again. There we go. I want to leave plenty of room to tie in my starling. I'm just going to pull that off. I'm going to pull that back and create a good thread base for my hackle here so that it doesn't want to slip. If I have a bare hook, my hackle is going to tend to kind of slip a little bit. So here I've got my starling. I love this. You can see I've really picked through this here in this area here. Oh, there you go, right in through here. You can see I've been pulling and picking a lot of there. That's going to be a lot where like I have some size 12s in here up there. Right in here is going to give me some nice good feathers for my size 14s. Okay. Pull one of these off. Okay. So there's my starling. Beautiful feather, very, very soft, very, very good for soft hackles. I really, really like these on my smaller ones. I know that a blue wing olive generally is going to have a lighter hackle color on it. I've found starling to be an exceptional feather for those when I tie those blue wing olives or PMDs. Okay, so I'm just going to strip those down. There's my tie-in point, just like that. I'm going to take and tie that in, secure it down, pull it rearward, secure it in again. Now I'm just going to trim that off. So for my starling, I like these hackle pliers the best. They're not heavy, they're light, they're going to grip that but they're going to give me good control of that hackle as I'm wrapping it. So I'm going to take this butt of that and put my hackle pliers on there. Now I'm going to wrap this. I'm going to be real careful. I'm going to be working those feathers, making sure I don't crowd the eye of the hook, pulling them rearward. I do roughly about 2.5 wraps. I use that stem to kind of help push those hackle fibers rearward. I, unlike traditional soft hackles, like my hackle to be a little bit fuller than traditionally speaking. They always get told less is more, which I agree. But I do like a decent amount of hackle. You can see how that's just flowing back over there. Now I'm just going to take and tie this off with a whip finish. Okay, so I do about a 2 or 3 turn whip. Snip that thread off. Now to finish this fly, and you don't have to, but this is something that I enjoy doing with mine, just secures in that knot just a little bit, but it's going to help give this head just a little bit more shine to it. Okay, so I'm going to use the Solarez Thin Hard. So I put that on there. I'm just going to take my designated bodkin, just make sure I don't have anything left on that. Clean that off. Now I'm just going to take my UV light. I'm going to cure that up. There we go. So again, I'm going to fish this trailing behind a dry fly. Okay, it's going to be extremely effective trailing behind the dry fly. Killer good. But I can also trail this behind a weighted soft hackle nymph. So if I'm fishing something with a weighted soft hackle nymph, I'll do this as my trailer fly, and that's going to have this fly up above the weighted fly. So they're going to be in 2 different feeding zones. This one's going to imitate more of that emerging insect, and it's going to be killer effective that way. So those are 2 different techniques to fish this. Fishing it off a dry fly and fishing it off of a weighted soft hackle or a traditional nymph. All mine are soft hackle nymphs. So I appreciate you watching. Make sure you like the video, leave us a comment, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you receive notifications. We appreciate your comments and likes of our videos. It helps us know what videos you're enjoying and create good quality content as we move forward. Thank you. You have a wonderful evening.